The modern education system is the most successful formatting tool ever designed by the state. It is not a temple of knowledge. It is a refinery for obedience. Most of you believe that good grades are a predictor of success. In reality, good grades are a measurement of your ability to follow instructions. The A student is a master of the closed-loop system. They are programmed to excel when the rules are clear and the expectations are static. They memorize the old code of the past to pass the tests of the present. But the future is an open system with no instructions and no syllabus. The student enters the real world and waits for someone to hand them the rubric. They wait for a boss to tell them what is on the final exam. While they are waiting for permission, the C student is already changing the rules. The C student spent their youth failing at useless tasks. They developed a resistance to the shame of failure. While you were polishing your ego, they learned to outsource what they weren't good at to survive the semester. This is the genesis of the CEO mindset, delegation, and strategic laziness. The student tries to do everything perfect because their identity is tied to precision. The C student tries to get it done because their identity is tied to outcome. Perfectionism is a high Q form of paralysis. It is a software bug that forces you to recode a perfect version of a product that nobody wants. The education system punishes mistakes with red ink and public shame. In the market, mistakes are the only data points that matter. If you aren't making mistakes, you aren't moving fast enough to generate heat. The student is terrified of the red ink, so they wait for certainty. Certainty is a luxury that the wealthy cannot afford. By the time the student has calculated the risk, the C student has captured the market. The school system rewards general intelligence, but punishes specific obsession. It forces you to study 12 subjects you don't care about, just to prove you can conform. It dilutes your genius, until you are average at everything, and iconic at nothing. The icon is a high-resolution specialist, with a radical disregard for unrelated data. I didn't care about history or French when I was designing the future of computing. I dropped out because the system was throttling my bandwidth. Most of you are highly educated, but completely ineffective. You have degrees in theory, but no scars from execution. You are certified by an institution that hasn't updated its hardware in 50 years. The teachers are employees teaching you how to be better employees. They are simulating a reality that expired in the 20th century. They teach you to compete for a seat in a cubicle. They don't teach you to own the building the cubicle sits in. The student is the perfect component for a corporate machine. The C student is the architect who builds the machine. You have been tricked into valuing the grade over the asset. A grade is a social construct. An asset is a physical reality. Your parents celebrate the diploma because they want you to be safe. Safety is the slow death of potential. The safety of its salary is the cage that restricts your growth. The S student loves the cage because the rules are transparent. The C student hates the cage because they value the horizon. When the market crashes, the S student is confused because they followed the steps. The C student is excited because chaos creates discounted opportunity. Chaos is the natural environment of the entrepreneur. Order is the natural environment of the place manager. The manager works for the entrepreneur. The student works for the C student. This is not a glitch in the simulation. It is the hard-coded reality. Intelligence without aggression is just information. Aggression without intelligence is chaos. But intelligence directed by visionary aggression is alchemy. Most of you are too smart to be successful. You overanalyze the void until the void consumes your ambition. You talk about the tech while the misfit ships the product. You correct the grammar while the icon collects the payment. Being right is the consolation prize for the poor. Being effective is the grand prize for the elite. The education system is an operating system for mediocrity. It preps you to be predictable. It preps you to be replaceable. It preps you to fear the principle. In the real world, there is no principle. There is only the market, and the market is hungry. It devours the rule followers and rewards the rule breakers. Initialize the deprogramming of your schooling tonight. Delete the need for academic validation. Install the obsession with commercial reality. Your GPA is irrelevant to your net worth. Your attendance record is irrelevant to your legacy. The void of institutional approval is empty. Fill it with your own rules. Fill it with your own rules. Fill it with the cash flow of a system you owned. Welcome to the real examination. The test has begun. There is no timer. There is only velocity. Parts of the system are crashing. Initialize the reboot. The second phase of this systemic error is the intelligence trap. Most of you are too smart to be wealthy. Your high IQ has become a high-resolution prison for your ambition. You suffer from analytical paralysis, where you simulate 1,000 failures before you even initialize a single action. The S student sees every variable, every risk, and every potential friction point. They calculate the probability of loss until the probability of action becomes zero. In the school system, you are rewarded for complex answers to simple problems. In the market, you are rewarded for simple solutions to complex problems. The market does not care about your depth of thought. It cares about your speed of delivery. While the intellectual is refining the hypothesis, the opportunist is collecting the deposit. Intelligence without execution is just mental masturbation. It feels good, but it produces nothing in the physical world. The CS student has a lower threshold for thinking and a higher threshold for doing. They are not blinded by the multitude of possibilities. They see a gap, they see a need, and they fill it with crude force. They don't wait for the optimal strategy, because they know that strategy is dynamic. Strategy is what happens after you collide with the customer. The student wants to model the collision in a safe environment. The student wants the collision because the collision is reality. Information is not power. Information is potential energy. It only becomes power when it is accelerated through a transaction. Most smart people are information hoarders. They collect degrees, certifications, and books like trophies on a shelf. They believe that one more course will finally give them the certainty to start. Certainty is a ghost that disappears when you chase it. The only certainty is that the market will surprise you. If you are overeducated, you are over-encoded with the fear of being wrong. In school, being wrong means a lower grade and shame. In business, being wrong is the diagnostic tool that shows you where the money is. If your ego is tied to being the smartest person in the room, you will stay in the room. The rich are willing to be the dumbest person in the room. If it increases their net worth, they hire the students to handle the details while they handle the vision. Specialists are components. Generalists are architects. The student is a high-performance part in a machine they don't own. They are optimized for efficiency within a fixed framework. The student owns the framework because they were too disruptive to fit inside it. Education often atrophies the intuition. It replaces your natural instinct for opportunity with a manual of procedures. You stop looking at the world and start looking at the textbook. But the textbook was written by someone who studied the past. Wealth is created by anticipating the future. Anticipation requires a level of creative arrogance that school tries to extinguish. They call it arrogance. I call it clarity. If you follow the consensus, you will receive the consensus result. The consensus result is mediocrity, debt, and anxiety. Break the consensus by valuing action over accuracy. Accuracy can be bought later. Momentum must be generated now. Most academic minds are resistant to sales. They think selling is below them or manipulative. They want the world to recognize their value through merit alone. The market does not recognize merit, it recognizes marketing. If nobody knows about your genius solution, your genius is mathematically irrelevant. The CS student is a natural seller because they had to sell the teacher on why their homework was late. They developed the muscle of persuasion, while you developed the muscle of compliance. Persuasion is the skill that moves capital. Compliance is the skill that maintains the status quo. Initialize the primitive drive to build without permission. Delete the need to know everything before doing anything. The void of too much knowledge is a black hole for wealth. Escape the event. Horizon of analysis. Simplify the goal. Magnify the effort. Ignore the critics who have degrees but no results. The academic criticizes the ship while it is sailing. The entrepreneur sails the ship while it is being built. Choose your vessel. Choose your velocity. The system wants you smart and static. I want you dangerous and dynamic. Initialize the pivot. The S student is waiting for the green light. The C student painted the light green while no one was looking. Move into the green. Leave the classroom. Enter the arena. Phase 2 is active. The loop is closing. The third phase of this architectural failure is the myth of safety. The A student has been conditioned to believe that risk is dangerous. They have been taught that a salary is a sanctuary and a contract is a guarantee. In reality, a salary is the price you accept to forget your own dreams. It is the monthly bribe that keeps you from building your own infrastructure. The education system is a packaging plant for human capital. It packages you as a high-quality component for someone else's machine. The S student looks for the biggest machine because it feels the most secure. They want the title, the benefits, and the 4% match. But having one source of income is the highest risk. You can assume in the modern market, you are one algorithm update or one manager's bad mood away from zero. You have concentrated all your life force into a single point of failure. This is not safety. This is fragility disguised as professionalism. The CS student was excluded from the big machines early on. They didn't fit the template, so they had to build their own tools. They embraced volatility because order was denied to them. They learned to eat what they kill while the S student was fed by a feeder. When the feeder stops dispensing grain, the S student panics. The CI student just goes hunting because they never stopped. Security is an internal software state, not an external contract. True security is the ability to generate value without a platform provided by others. The education system does not teach value generation, it teaches task completion. There is a vast, violent difference between the two. Task completion is linear, it is trading minutes for pennies. Value generation is exponential, it is solving problems for millions. The student is stuck in the linear loop because they value the grade. The grade is linear, do the work, get the A. The market is non-linear, do the work, lose everything, then pivot and win the galaxy. The A student cannot handle the non-linearity of real life. They collapse when the input does not immediately produce the expected output. The CS student has high latency tolerance. They expect the failure. They build it into the operating system. They know that 90% of initializations will crash. They are optimized for the 10% that scale. While the A student is polishing their resume, the C student is polishing their product. While the A student is networking for a promotion, the C student is marketing for a monopoly. One is asking for a seat at the table. The other is buying the table. The education system glorifies the employee as a refined professional. It vilifies the entrepreneur as a risk-taking misfit. But who funds the university? Who endows the chairs? The misfit who dropped out and built the future. The institution is financed by the rule breakers to produce more rule followers. It is a self-correcting cycle, designed to maintain the hierarchy. If you are a student, you are the elite guard of the existing system. You are the manager of the status quo. You are trained to protect what exists, not to create what does not. The C student has no loyalty to the status quo, because the status quo failed them. They are born to disrupt because disruption is their only path to power. In a world of rapid technological displacement, disruption is the only sustainable strategy. The S student is vulnerable to artificial intelligence. AI is the ultimate S student. It follows instructions and memorizes data with perfect precision. If your career is based on processing information, you are obsolete. The CI student is resistant to automation because they deal in vision and human chaos. AI cannot. Initial is a dream, it can only optimize an object. Dreamers hire optimizers. Founders hire employees. C students hire A students. Invert your priorities tonight. Stop looking for security in a corporate org chart. Start looking for fragility in the market and exploit it. Initialize your own cash flow before you need it. Build the well before you are thirsty. The diploma on your wall is a receipt for time spent. The cash in your safe is a measurement of value provided. Choose the metric that saves you. Choose the path that scares you. The void of security is where freedom is stored. Initialize the escape. The system is vulnerable. The architect is ready. Delete the illusion of safety. Install the reality of sovereignty. Phase 3 is closing. Stay focused. Stay violent in your execution. Build the empire. The fourth phase of your deprogramming is the social validation trap. The S student has been conditioned to crave the gold star and the principal's nod. They have outsourced their self-worth to a judging committee of mediocre authorities. In school, you were safe, as long as you pleased the person at the front of the room. In the market, the person at the front is a distraction. The market is a faceless, brutal ocean that doesn't care about your politeness. The S student is terrified of public failure because they have never failed. Publicly, they have spent their lives protecting a fragile reputation of intelligence. This reputation is a luxury prison that prevents them from taking risks. They won't start a business because they might look stupid to their peer group. They won't ship a minimum viable product because it isn't perfect enough for their pride. They are paralyzed by the fear of the red ink in the court of public opinion. The CI student was baptized in failure by the age of 10. They were called stupid, lazy, and unpromising before they even hit puberty. They have no reputation to protect, and that makes them dangerous. They have nothing to lose, so they have everything to gain. They are willing to be laughed at, while they iterate toward world domination. Shame is a tax that the weak pay to the strong. The S student pays the tax every single day by staying in line. The CS student refuses to pay because they value the result more than the review. If you need everyone to like you, you will never own anything. Ownership requires the arrogance to be wrong in front of everyone. It requires the conviction to build a cube while everyone else is polishing a sphere. The education system standardizes your thinking to minimize conflict. It teaches you that conflict is bad and consensus is good. In wealth creation, consensus is the place where profits go to die. If everyone agrees with your idea, the opportunity has already been arbitraged away. The student chases the consensus because it feels validated. The student chases the contradiction because that is where the asymmetric returns are hidden. You must become comfortable with being the villain in someone else's story. The employee wants to be loved by the team. The founder wants to be effective for the mission. Love is a variable you cannot control. Capital is a constant you can architect. The education system softens your spirit to make you a better tenant of the system. It atrophies your savage instincts for survival and dominance. It replaces them with corporate etiquette and human resources compliance. The A student is polished, articulate, and poor. The C student is rough, direct, and sovereign. Status symbols are the gold stars for adult students. They buy the watch, the membership, and the neighborhood to prove they won. But they are paying for the proof with their future freedom. They are signaling wealth while leaking capital. The CS student's signal is their balance sheet and their time freedom. They don't care if you think they are broke as long as they own the servers. Initialize a total disregard for peer review tonight. Delete the need for academic or social permission. Your ego is the largest liability on your personal ledger. Liquidate the ego to acquire the asset. The S student is tied to what people say. The C student is tied to what the market does. The market is the only principle you should respect, and the market is a hard teacher who gives the test before the lesson. Embrace the failure. Embrace the ridicule. Build the thing that doesn't make sense to the average mind. If they understand it, it's too simple for real wealth. If they mock it, it's probably disruptive. Stay foolish was never a greeting. It was a defense mechanism. Being foolish in the eyes of the herd is the only way to be brilliant in the eyes of history. The A student is history's footnote. The C student is history's author. Initialize the writer protocol. Phase 4 is closing. Stay cold. Stay misunderstood. Build the machine. The final reset is approaching. The final phase of your architectural reset is the mastery of selective ignorance. To succeed in the real world, you must unlearn the propaganda of the classroom. The S student is a library of dead data. The SE student is a laboratory of living experiments. Your education was a safety blanket that smothered your natural intelligence. In 2026, knowledge is commoditized. AI has perfect memory and zero salary. If your only value is knowing things, you are a human database with a failing battery. The new economy rewards synthesis, vision, and psychological warfare. The C student is a natural synthesizer because they never cared about the details. They care about the connective tissue between ideas and capital. If you are a student, you must initialize a surgical removal of your need for accuracy. You must learn to love the vagueness of high-speed decision-making. You must learn to act on 40% information. If you wait for 80%, your competitor has already acquired the user base. Accuracy is the consolation prize for those who arrived late. Market share is the victory for those who arrived first. The C student doesn't check the weather. They build the shelter while it's raining. Stop seeking excellence in useless tasks. Excellence in email formatting is a sign of a wasted life. Excellence in meeting attendance is a sign of a failing career. Redirect your student discipline toward nonlinear goals. Apply your study habits to the market's vulnerabilities, not the HR handbook. The A student is trained to be a problem solver for others. The C student is trained to be a problem creator for the competition. Invert your identity tonight. I am not a student. I am an architect. A student consumes the past. An architect commands the future. Your diploma is a receipt for compliance. Burn it in your mind. The only credentials that matter are your cash flow and your freedom. If you have zero control over your Tuesday afternoon, you are uneducated. True education is the ability to design your own reality. The A student is waiting for the bell to tell them when to eat. The C student owns the cafeteria. Initialize the final algorithm of execution. Step 1. Identify amassed frustration. Step 2. Build a crude, functional solution. Step 3. Sell it before it is perfect. Step 4. Hire the students to scale it. Step 5. Move to the next. Disruption. This is the loop of the elite. It is fast, messy, and profitable. It ignores the rules of the institution. It respects only the rules of physics and psychology. You have been sold a map that leads to a cubicle. I am handing you a compass that points to sovereignty. The compass is unpredictable and requires courage, but the map is a guaranteed path to quiet desperation. Choose the compass. Choose the risk. Choose the C students' freedom over the S students' chains. The void of institutional approval is wide. Fill it with your empire. Fill it with your vision. Fill it with the roar of your own movement. School is over. The recess is finished. The real examination is live. And the market doesn't grade on a curve. It settles in real-time value. Initialize your first real move tonight. Don't revise the notes. Don't ask for a peer review. Press the button. Ship the code. Call the lead. The system is waiting for your input. The A student is still thinking. The C student is already rich. Which one are you today? Change the variable. Change the outcome. Initialize the new version of yourself. Stay hungry. Stay foolish. Stay effective. The future belongs to the misfits. Welcome to the 1%. Transmission complete. Exit the classroom. Enter the arena. Good luck is for peasants. The architect creates certainty. Execute. Goodbye.